Welcome to the Beginner's Guide for FL Studio 20. My name is Coinx and today I will walk you through the basics of using this software. Whether you are new to music production or finding FL Studio a little bit overwhelming, don't worry yourself. I will simplify the process so you can start creating your own music with ease. As someone who has been using FL Studio for a very long time, I understand the initial challenges and complexity that comes with using FL Studio for the first time. But together, we will demystify this software and focus on making great music. So let's dive right in. When you launch FL Studio for the first time, it might appear confusing. For sure, it happened to me, it happened to many other people. But don't be intimidated by the interface. I will explain everything in a few minutes. Let's start by exploring the menus and buttons at the top. You will find the file menu where you can open and save projects, export MP3 and WAV files, configure MIDI and audio settings, and more. If you need help setting up interface or MIDI controllers, I will provide a link of another video I treated on how to connect your gears in your studio, and I will leave that link in the description. Moving along, the top bar, you will see the master volume and the master pitch controls. It's usually best to keep this at their default settings. And don't forget the transport controls, which allows you to play, pause, stop, navigate through your projects. In the next parts of this guide, we will cover various aspects of FL Studio, including the workspace, instruments, effects, and many more. And by the end, you will feel confident and ready to unleash your creativity. So guys, let's embark on this FL Studio journey together. You have the option to choose either a song or a pattern. Let me explain the distinction. In the interface, you will find buttons for play, pause, stop, record, and tempo control. You can adjust the tempo by clicking and dragging or by typing in specific value. When you hover over an element, a helpful guide will appear, and it will appear at the top corner providing information about its function. For example, a metronome, a countdown before recording, and the option to switch from a typing keyboard to a piano keyboard. These options are related to recording and editing, and their purpose will become clear soon enough. Now, let's move on to the pattern section located in this section. In FL Studio, you will create patterns and arrange them to form songs. This is where you will choose your patterns later on to make beats. Another important section is the window control button. They allow you to view different windows within FL Studio, such as playlist, piano rolls, channel racks, and mixer. Let's explore these sections in detail. First, there is the browser on the side, which contains all the samples, instruments, and other files stored on your computer. Next, we have the channel rack, where you store the samples and instruments selected for your project. The playlist tab is where you arrange, edit, and assemble the patterns to create a complete song. So by clicking up here, you can open the mixer where all the audio is routed and processed before being sent out through the master channel. Still confusing? Don't worry, I will explain each of these components in more depth. Lastly, there is the piano roll where you sequence your chords and your melodies. Let's take it step by step. The signal flow starts with the browser, okay, where you select and place items onto the channel rack. From there, you build patterns and arrange them into a song. All the audio is sent through the mixer and then output to the master channel where your final song is produced. To prevent it from disappearing when selecting the playlist, you can detach it by selecting the drop-down menu and choosing the option at the bottom. This way it remains visible until you close it manually. The channel rack is where all the samples and instruments from your project are stored. When you open FL Studio, it loads with 4 samples, default samples, such as kick, clap, hi-hat, and snare. However, you can add your own samples by accessing the browser on the side. From there, you can browse through packs and select various samples, including drums, percussion, sound effects, and instruments. Simply click and drag the chosen sample onto the channel rack, and it becomes part of your project. It's that simple. You can add virtual instruments by clicking at the bottom and selecting a VST or a plugin. To see more details about a sample, you can left click on it to open the wrapper. Inside the wrapper, you can also listen to the sample, adjust its pitch, volume, and pan. The dials on the side of the channel rack controls panning and volume. Left clicking selects an item, while right clicking opens an options menu with useful functions like resetting or copying values. The box next to each sample indicates the mixer track it will be sent to. You can select a track by hovering over the area and scrolling or typing in a value. Now that we've gotten some knowledge about FL Studio and its features, we'll be diving into its practical application. Let's say we are creating drums. Go to your pattern, click on this plus sign to add. Okay, let's say you want to start with your kick drum. You type in your kick, choose a color just to keep everything organized, and accept, and you are on your kick pattern, because this pattern is linked directly to this channel rack. If you program some things here, the moment you change this pattern is on a different channel rack. I hope you are understanding it now. So now let's go back to the kick pattern. So on the kick pattern, after you must have created what is in your mind, the next place you go is on your playlist. So like we previously said, these tools here are the tools that will help you do whatever you want to do inside this playlist. Now you can click to drop the first pattern, which is your kick, as you can see the name there, or you can use your paint to drop multiple patterns at once to save time. And I said earlier that the pattern keeps your channel rack in loop, which is very helpful when you are creating a drum pattern, so that it keeps playing over and over while you add and remove elements. So once you are done with creating your pattern and brought them in on the playlist, that is now when you switch to song, because when you leave it on pattern, it is still connected to the channel rack and not to the playlist. Now the first step is to come up with a kick drum. So the first thing you need to do is to come on the browser and pick your kick drum. In this case, let's just randomly pick this. Let's use this one. Now we'll call out our channel rack with this button here. Let's delete all those things. Let's say our first element to add is a kick drum, right? So on this pattern, we call it kick. Then we'll add a color. Right now we are doing the actual demonstration. Then after we added the color, we'll now go to the channel rack to create the kick pattern. But there is another thing you can do if you don't want to use here. You can simply, but it's more like the advanced level of it, you can drag the sample and place it right inside the playlist. But this is a little bit complex for a beginner, so we'll just do it this traditional way, which is easier and more flexible. So now inside our channel rack, let me quickly delete all these samples. So inside our channel rack, we have our kick. Now, as we've gotten our kick, we create our kick pattern. But before we create anything, we need to define a tempo. That is where we talked about this. This is where you key in your tempo. So we need to define the speed of the project we want to work on. So let's say we want to create a beat that is on this speed. Let me use that terms for clearer understanding. Something of that tempo. The first thing is to come over to this icon here, which is the metronome. Click on it so that you can hear the timing as you lay down. As you can see, that is too fast, so while I play it, I will drag it till I get the tempo I want. That is perfect. But there is another way you can approach this just to save time. Right click here and go to this option, the first option, and click on that, tap, and then tap it. Depending on the speed you want to achieve. So that is just to show you another way you can do that. Or you can right click here like we previously said and type in your BPM, let's say 105. So these are the three ways you can key in your tempo in FL Studio. Let's create our kick pattern. So guys, please have it in mind that this is just a simple demonstration. So now let's use just this simple pattern. Now we've gotten this pattern, the next thing we'll do is to go to the playlist, and with our draw tool we'll just drop that first pattern. Now if we hit play, you notice that it's not playing on the playlist. What you need to do to bring it over here for arrangement, which is on the playlist, is to switch to song. So I hope you've fully understood that now. Now we've gotten our kick, and at this point I'll turn off the metronome because I now have a timer. Let's say it's the snare that we want to add. So guys, what do you think we should do first? That's right, head down to the pattern, add a pattern, name it, add a color to differentiate the kick from the snare, and now use your draw tool and add your snare. So as you can see, we've not created anything on the snare. When you drop your pattern, double click on it, it will connect you directly to the channel rack where you will now program it. So let's program the snare. Alright, let's use this. And remember, we are still on the snare pattern, right? So alright, now we've gotten our snare. Use your paint and just drag and paint it there. So guys, in order not to make it very boring session, that is exactly how you keep bringing in elements, creating, piling it up to come up with either your drum pattern or your chord or any other thing you want to add on your playlist. Now let's say you've created your drums and you're comfortable. You can now highlight and expand, holding down shifts and click to drag, or you hold down when you highlight it, you hold down Ctrl and B, it will duplicate it for you and sync it to the next bar. At this point, I will quickly show you how you can now add your chords just with a simple chord progression. You go to your pattern, the same approach, click on it, let's call it piano. And on the piano, we'll change the color to what we like, accept. Good. Let's say, okay, we're gonna put the piano here. Alright, now once that is done, we'll double click on it, go to the channel rack, insert a plugin, a virtual instrument. In this case, we'll be using Flex. So we get Flex. I just quickly choose a random instrument. Okay, let's just use the guitar. So now let me quickly lay down a simple chord. On this channel rack, go down to this element that we've added, which is this instrument. As you can see, it's activated. Just go down to your piano roll and click. We are automatically on that instrument's piano roll. Now you are inside this piano roll for the nylon guitar. Let's quickly create something. Alright guys, so after that we'll be looking at how you can now connect these elements to the mixer track. So let's say the kick, we want it to be on channel 1, put it on channel 1. As you can see, it's moving. Say the second one, put it on channel 2, is on channel 2, hi-hat channel 3, and now let's say the piano on channel 4. And also to teach you this, let's say you call up this and you can't find where to connect it, just go to this settings icon here, click on it, it will be revealed, just in case you meet situations like that. So that is how to correct it. So now route this to 4. Now we've routed them to the mixer track. And another thing we need to talk about here in the playlist is this. Alright, let's say we want to make a group for all the whole drums. So the easiest way to do it is on an empty channel, name it the drum, then below here the kick drums, you right click and you click on group with above track, and automatically it is under this. Then the rest you group above track. Do the same thing to the other ones to group it, and that is how to group everything. So with this arrow here, you can now toggle it open and close. So here now we now have the whole drums all in one group. And after that, we've programmed everything, linked them to the channel, and inside this channel we can now add effects. The way you add effects, go to any channel you want. Let's say we want to add compressor to the kick. You click on that channel that you sent it, right click, let's rename this kick. If you like, you can color code it with the one on the playlist. So, and on this channel, once you click on that, on this insert section, you can now choose any effect you want. That is how to add effect to the mixer. The next thing I will show you is, after you've programmed everything you want, how you can export it. You go here, click on file, go to export. If it is wave or mp3 or any format you want, you pick it. So in this case I'm using wave. Just click on it and name it simple tutorial beat. Then we save stereo, check the settings, and after that you hit start, it will render. So guys, this is just a simple basic walkthrough of FL Studio interface, the features, what they are used for, how to use them, just to have a grasp of FL Studio and how you can use it to kickstart your music production journey. And there are many other things here that we didn't talk about. You can leave it in the comment section on anything you feel I didn't touch. Just leave it in the comment section. I will try to go through them and probably reply to you via the comment section or make a video about it. Alright guys, so that will be a wrap for this tutorial on understanding FL Studio and its built-in features. Stay creative, keep making music, and